I recorded my first album in 1993. The first album that I was on, or the first record that I was on was with Emperor, and that was in 1992. So my first album came out 25 years ago. That is true. It was recorded 25 years ago.
Yeah, as you say, you started with Emperor, the black metal scene, not for a very long time. So what was missing there for you? Why decided you to go on as a solo artist?
It wasn't like a lot was missing. I mean, the reason I left Emperor was basically because I had, back in those days, I was a very young guy. And we were all young, you know, but I had a bit of an attitude. So I was probably a bit of a pain in the ass, to be honest. But looking back, those guys were such great musicians even back then, you know, compared to what I was, because I only started playing because they needed somebody in the band. They already knew how to play because they'd been in a bunch of bands before that. So I think it wasn't so much to do with my attitude, to be honest. I think it probably had to do with the fact that they wanted somebody better, that was better at the bass. That's kind of like that's my private little suspicion.
Like typical modest northern modesty.
I don't know, just Mortiis honesty. As opposed to northern modesty, you know, it's just Mortiis honesty. Almost the same thing, I guess. But I don't think about that so much. But like I'm thinking, like maybe that was the reason, because like, you know, those guys are good players. So I'm thinking they're probably going to want, it would make so much more sense if their actual reason was that they wanted somebody that was equal to them. That's totally understandable, you know. So, but whatever.
But anyway, you made a good decision, because Mortiis has become very successful. Your first albums were only instrumental albums.
Yeah.
So at a certain point you did decide to start and use lyrics. Did you have the impression that something in the music was not powerful enough to express what you wanted to express? You
know, as a kid I grew up with like hard rock. I've always been like a hard rocker at heart, you know, and so I was doing this, you know, this metal stuff in the 90s, and you know, what later became known as dungeon synth in modern days. I guess they finally put like a name for it. After doing a certain amount of albums with that type of sound, I just reached a point where I felt like, fuck, you know, I really want to do something that's closer to the stuff that I grew up with. But at the same time, I was really into like industrial bands. I was really getting into like Ministry and Nine Inch Nails and stuff like that in the 90s, and Skinny Puppy, you know, and all that stuff. It's even like more floaty, ambient, atmospheric stuff like Enigma, Dead Can Dance, and that type of stuff. So I wanted to combine all these elements that I really loved into something else, and I really wanted to be a front man, because I felt like instinctively that's something I could probably be quite good at, you know. And so I just. It was also mixed up with a lot of like depression issues and stuff like that. So I needed to make a big turn in my life in order to avoid self-destructing as a person. Oh my! Bam. So that's when I made the Smell of Rain album, and then that went into the Grudge and you know and Perfectly Defect and The Great Deceiver and all that stuff. So. That was great, man. I mean, that fucking saved me from basically killing myself. So, you know, it's a big thing. Music is a lifesaver. I mean, it's one of the most wonderful ways to express your feelings. It's a great therapy. It's a great ventilator. Yeah. You let off steam through something that's creative. And thank God some of us have that privilege. I mean, not everybody has a way to you know, let off steam. And look what happens to those guys. It's fucking dangerous. So, yeah, it's therapy. Like you said, for sure. Now, for tonight, you have decided to bring us a show with music, some older music. Yeah. Because you can, you told me, and you are absolutely right. That's because I have the power. Yes. But there must be more than that. Is there a special connotation that you have with that music? Why exactly this music? Well, when I changed my musical style in around about the year 2000, the more satisfied and comfortable I became with the sort of industrial rock direction I was taking, because it was very natural for me to do that. The more I got into that, the more I started really kind of like disliking my 90s output, which was like instrumental, atmospheric stuff. And you know, it took me a long time to finally be able to look back at my early stuff and actually start enjoying it again. But once I did that, I figured, fuck, man, I mean, it would be kind of cool to just go back and do this all over again. Which it took a long time, like I said. I mean, I didn't actually do this until last year. But at the same time, I decided that I don't just want to take the exact, like a clone or a copy of the music I made back in 1994, for example, and just like reshare that with an audience today, because it would have been really boring for me, and I think it would have been boring for the audience, because hey, this is exactly the same stuff that we heard back in 94, for the older fans. So I re-recorded everything, and I've reinterpreted everything, and I added a lot of melodic content to it. I've extended it so it's longer, it's bigger, and it's just more rhythmical and percussive, so everything is just bigger and more, just like a bigger, more dangerous monster now.
Yeah, technically you also have different software. You have different possibilities today than 20 years ago.
Well, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, if you really want to just shave the whole reason down to like a few words, I mean, it was all about making this interesting for me. Just got it. What's in this for me, right? So, but so far, I mean, people seem to really respond well to it. And the only way to hear this music is to actually go to a show. It's not out on an album yet. I mean, it is to some degree my 1994 album On the Smooth Opera, which I'm reinterpreting. But at the same time, it's a totally new experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you have been quite productive the last couple of years. And
Kind of, yeah.
yeah, you released quite some stuff. And also, as we speak, in the beginning of next month, the 1st of June, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes.
you will reissue something else. Can you say something more about that?
Well, that's Perfectly Defect. You know, that's the album that we put out in 2010. It was an album that was actually kind of created and arranged and recorded simultaneously as the Great Deceiver album. I mean, these two records have been in the making for so fucking long, for many reasons. And what we did in 2010 or 2011, I can't quite remember. No, it was 10th of October of 2010, because the release date for this thing was 10/10/10. So we were like, hey, we're being clever. What we did was we put it out as a free download for everybody to download for free, no cost, no nothing. And the reason for that was I was so disillusioned with the record industry. We were trying to get record deals, and the stuff that came on the table it was almost like it was abusive. Like everything goes to the record label. They own everything. You get nothing. You're just a fucking bitch. You know what I mean? It's like, would you sign a deal like that? I mean, who the fuck wants to sign a deal like that? And I've been in deals like that, so I know exactly what this is about. Fuck you, that's not going to happen. So at the end of the day, we just decided, you know, let's just fucking put this out there for free, straight to the fans, no cost, as a demonstration. It was like a protest to the way the record industry had been treating us. Like, you know what? We would rather fucking give this album away for free than give it to you guys for peanuts. You know, fuck you. We'll just fucking drop you. Fuck the middleman. Just give it to the fucking fans for free. So that's what we did, and that's the only way that album was available for a few months, and then we just, you know, we shut off the sort of the digital channels, and it's been kind of like sitting in the background for fucking like almost 8 years now, 7.5 years. So I'm thinking, you know what, this album is really good. I mean, I love it. It's a very sort of artistic album in the sense that it's this only like half of it has vocals on it. It's a lot of instrumental stuff going on. So it's really like one of those, we don't care. We just like what's happening in the studio. We're not going to worry about fucking structures or if this is like fucking commercially appealing and is this radio friendly, like bullshit like that. So it's just one of my favorite records that I've ever made, you know. So it kind of bothered me for a long time that, God, it doesn't exist on vinyl. It never had a proper release. So we're finally doing that now. So yeah, June 1st. It'll be finally properly released the way it always deserved to be.
Yeah. Very looking forward to that.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Now, how do you feel about film music? Because some of your music can perfectly well be used in movies, I think.
I always kept saying that to like various managers that I work with, like, dude, get out there and try to see if like some of these movie makers like get into it. They never, I don't know, maybe they never went to work for me or whatever. I don't know. I did some soundtrack stuff back in the mid-2000s, and that was released as this really limited record called The Unraveling Mind, which I only put it out last year on vinyl, and a few copies and it sold out, and it's kind of like gone now. But the idea is to actually do the same thing with that record as we're doing with Perfectly Defect now in June. We're hoping to do the same thing maybe later in the fall, give that a proper release. But yeah, I mean, I would fucking love that, but for some reason, it hasn't really happened yet, except for the stuff that I did in the mid-2000s, which was very underground, you know. But still, you know, it was a cool experience.
So maybe one little last questions. When you compose your songs, what are your influences? Is it, I'm not necessarily talking about our bands, but you know, like for example, the darkness of Norway, the way of living in Norway. Does it help you to compose? Can you better compose when you're in a bad mood or in a good mood?
I need to be, if I'm in a bad mood, I'm too frustrated to compose. So it's more a question of just...
So your darkest songs, they exist when you are on your brightest?
Almost. Kind of, in a way. What I do is, like, if I feel really fucking horrible one day, I'll conserve that feeling and I'll bring it back up when I'm in a more creative corner. To me, it's really hard to be creative when if I'm angry with something or frustrated or whatever. I mean, it's like I can't sit down and turn on all my equipment and go like, okay, you're fucking mad. I mean, you're so busy being pissed off. There's nothing else you can do. You just gotta wait for that shit to pass. And then you try not to forget the way that you felt, and you can use that as an inspirational tool a little bit later. that's the way, I mean, personally, for me, that's the way I work. I mean, you know, I mean, if you ask some punk musician, I mean, he might just sit down with a guitar and just fucking destroy that fucking guitar, and he'll make like 12 kick-ass riffs because he's so fucking pissed off. But I mean, it's not quite the way that I function, you know. So everybody's different, you know. But you know, yeah, there's no way. I mean, I can't sit down and fucking be creative and angry at the same time. It doesn't work, you know. So I got to conserve my feelings and try to recall how that shit felt, and then I'll transform that into something productive.
And the therapy can start.
Yes, exactly.